or something like magnitude, and the aftershock of like a point oh or something. I just seen some news that just come out 2 minutes ago. Says NORAD detects and tracks some Russian military aircraft operating in Alaska air defense zone. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's pretty crazy.
that's crazy. I mean, that's pretty normal, though. I mean, that happens quite frequently. You know, too bad it does, but it does.
Well, I don't know. It's just pretty crazy, man. With the war ramping up, wars ramping up, earthquakes are ramping up, domestic strife is ramping up. It's like bullshit, man. Thank you again for letting me speak, man. Maybe we can get uh maybe we can get it all sorted out. I just feel bad for like the people in Gaza, man. I don't know what Netanyahu's going to do. It's like they came out with a Biden, or Biden urged him to call for a ceasefire or whatever. And then the UN chief, United Nations chief, he said that he was deeply troubled about the reports that Israel was using AI to identify Gazan targets. But thank you for letting me speak in game. Appreciate you, brother.
Hey, thank you, man. You know, there's several, countries, that are putting pressure on Netanyahu to try to take a deal even without a hostage exchange. That's how crazy these countries are getting. They're like, fuck your people, leave them over there. We just need to end this war. I'm like, are you kidding me, man? You know, who knows how many hostages are left? But at the same time, I'm sure there's a few. And for these countries to come out and try to tell Netanyahu to accept any kind of fucking peace deal without any fucking hostage negotiations, oh man, that's bullshit. You know, plus Hamas came out and said, listen, we're going back to our regular line, and that's the only way we'll do a hostage exchange is if you get the fuck out of here, Netanyahu, for good. And if we bring food into this place and we fucking rebuild it, then we'll do the hostage negotiation. You know, Hamas doesn't want to negotiate either. Sidmore, wherever the fuck he is, who knows? He could be in fucking Spain by now. You know, he's holding all this shit up, and so is Haniyeh over in Qatar. You know, and finally, and I know PK talked about this a lot too the past couple shows. Finally, the U.S. is coming out and telling Qatar, you need to fucking get with the program. You need to fucking exile these Hamas fucking officials out of your fucking country. You need to put pressure, maximum pressure on Hamas to accept a fucking deal. And they're not doing it. Qatar's not doing it. Qatar is nothing but an extension of fucking Hamas. That's all they are. They're just a fucking extension of Hamas. They're giving Hamas all kinds of cover right now and not putting any pressure on. They're trying to put pressure on Israel, but they're not putting any pressure on fucking the guilty party, which is Hamas. They're the ones that started this October 7th. Period. But thank you, Chase. We'll move on here. Go ahead. Who's next? Cannabis. Go ahead, man.
And game, how are you?
What's happening, brother?
Not much, just following everything like everybody else. If you come to this space, you come here for one thing, man, geopolitics, and we're getting a lot of it going on right now, so it's exciting. But as all this stuff has developed, Ukraine and what went on in Israel and what's happening now, I always like to revisit like past history, right? Because we can read books from hundreds, about things that happened hundreds of years ago. And it sounds like, when you read history, right? It sounds like shit happens fast, but it fucking doesn't, you know? Like, and then I wonder when Alexander the Great went in and kicked King Darius's ass twice, were they like, okay, they just kicked our ass, killed tens of thousands of us. So now we're going to send them a warning and we're going to tell them we're going to kill them next. And then did Alexander the Great go, yeah, okay, but we're not going to preempt them. See, let them kill tens of thousands of us and then we'll attack them, because that's what I see is happening right now in real time with Israel and Iran. So here's the example. Israel takes out a bunch of people, right? Senior ranking officials, whatever. So now Iran, for days, and it could go weeks. Okay, we're going to attack you. It's going to be with these types of missiles and these drones. And it's coming. Now, when Israel got attacked on October 7th, right, the citizenry flipped the fuck out. Flipped the fuck out. And they should have. And they said, hey, Netanyahu, you didn't do shit to protect us, right, you bitch. You didn't protect us. You knew this was coming. So now it's kind of the same scenario, right? Like they know it's coming. All the reports and intelligence, allegedly, right, what we read, says, hey, they're massive attack and they're not using a proxy. It's coming from Iran themselves. And then Iran saying, we're going to do it our fucking selves. Why is Israel waiting? So, like, if they get walloped, just fucking shellacked right now, it's their own fucking fault. And I'll tell you why. When a country says, I'm coming after you, I'm going to fucking destroy you, don't fucking wait. And that's the same thing with our president, who's not doing anything either, frankly, right? Like, whenever a president addresses a nation, it's taken very seriously, okay? At a minimum, he should be on TV explaining what's going on, because I think the Iranians may take that to heart, because when a president does it, that's serious. And just walk through, hey, this is what Iran said they're going to do. We've spoke to them. I'm telling you, the American people, if any American is touched, there might not be in Iran. We don't care. They mean nothing to us. We'll wipe out their whole fucking history. It'll get them thinking at least a little bit. Don't don't come fucking with us. But I just don't get the mentality of, okay, we're gonna wait. We're gonna wait. They're gonna attack us, and then we're gonna do something. Like what? Why? What the fuck is going on with that shit, man?
I think we're looking. I think, today's time you look for a cautious bell eye. A reason, and so, honestly, if Iran was to attack Israel, they'd basically be just responding to what Israel did to them first over in Syria. So you would have Israel committed the attack and Iran answered with a response. And that should be it right there. We're even. You killed our guys, we fucking shot some shit in your country, we're even. But Israel's not going to play it that way, and neither is America. And like I said, Biden is a wolf in a sheep's clothes. He really is a war hawk. And all presidents are war hawks. I don't give a fuck if it's Trump, Obama, fucking Clinton, Jimmy Carter. They're all fucking war hawks, man. And so Biden, he's a little sympathetic to the Palestinians, which I understand. I am too, a bit. I really am. I don't like seeing people getting, innocent people getting slaughtered and fucking starved to death. I don't like that one bit. But at the same time, as long as we've got an organization, and you've heard me talk about this, as long as we've got an organization called APEC in our government that passes out a lot of money for favors, we're going to keep doing Israel's bidding, and it's going to continue. And believe me, I think America and I think Israel both are looking for a reason to fucking hit Iran right now. I do. I think they're looking for that reason to take out Iran's nuclear program. It's much easier if Iran gives us a reason than us just going over and doing it. If we just one day decided to go do it, and we'd have to come up with some kind of, they were coming up with nukes. It's a lot easier to explain to people, Iran just fucking hit Israel. Put aside the fact that Israel hit Iran first over in Damascus. I mean, that's true, and I support Israel, but the facts are the facts. Israel kicked this off by taking out those people over in Damascus. Now, they were terrorists, and I understand why Israel did it, but at the same time, people need to remember that fact. Israel struck first over there.
Yeah, that's why I was going to ask, was there like a specific reason why they targeted those guys, or was they just fucking in the neighborhood, wrong place, wrong time?
Well, I think they seemed these high levels having a meeting, and I think the meeting was about, helping, some with Hamas or Hezbollah or something like that. That Israel said it was a meeting of terrorists in a consulate. Iran says, tries to, Iran's trying to say that Israel violated UN charter by hitting a consulate. Now, some people may argue that consulate and embassy are two separate things, but they're still supposed to be protected underneath the UN Charter. Now, some people like to say, "Oh, that was just a building attached to the embassy; it wasn't a consulate." Whereas even America's come out, Israel's even come out and said that that was a consulate, but that they were having terrorist meetings in there, so that gave Israel carte blanche to overrule the UN Charter and to strike this.
It's
That's
just, it's
that's Israel's
crazy.
thinking.
I don't know. It's just crazy. I'm thinking, man, there's a lot of red lines that they saw before they even made the strike. So I just don't understand why this whole situation we're in right now didn't cross their mind. But I don't know. Just
Well, we owe, using that logic too, though, we owe Iran a fucking beating and a half. That we've been waiting 39 years
I mean,
to get
we
some.
do.
They took our hostages, right? They held them for 444 days. They had their hand in the barracks bombing in 1983. So we're like the Chinese. We got a long time frame. So should something happen, shouldn't be any American feeling bad about what we'll do to them. They have it coming.
I think. I think America's goal is to try to separate themselves from this specific situation as much as possible. Yeah, hopefully they don't do nothing crazy like strike an American base or something. I'd like to just see it. I don't know. I don't know what the fuck they're gonna do, but
And I'd like to also thank Omar, who's on. He put out a pretty good tweet a little while ago. It had, I think it was 63 U.S. vehicles, armored vehicles, crossing Iraq going into Syria. It was, I think, about 30 minutes ago he put out. So that was a little interesting too. But I appreciate it, Endgame. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you. The say with OVCM just said about us separating ourselves. On the outside it looks like that, but on the inside, we'd love to fucking throw in a fucking shot at the Ayatollah. We would love it. We've been wanting this. We've been wanting this. We're just like Cannabis said. You go back to the day the hostage. We've been wanting. It doesn't matter what Biden's saying. It's the logic of it all is the U.S. government has always had Iran as number one on a target list, always. And so, like I said, they on the outside, Biden's trying to make it look like we don't want. On the inside, we're on the phone with fucking Israel, going, "Let's fucking do this, man. Let's fucking get this shit fucking done." And then so I think that Israel, as bad as it sounds, is willing to sit back and take a hit from Iran just so Israel can say, "All right, fuck this. You fucking just hit me. We're coming at you now, George." It's on like fucking Donkey Kong. And that's what I think Israel's going to do. And I think America's going to do the same thing. We're going to sit back. We're going to give an open window to Iran and say, "You're going to jump through this fucking window. Or you're going to fucking shut it and go back underneath your bed like a little fucking bitch." Period. And I don't think Iran's going to go back underneath their bed like a little bitch because the whole world knows what's going on right now. And they would look like bitches if they didn't fucking go through with this now. So I know I just don't understand Israel's logic though with this. I thought for sure that they'd want to take Hezbollah out first as much as possible before
that's
going to blows with Iran, because as soon as they go to blows with Iran, Hezbollah is going to open up another front right there in the northern border, launching all those rockets and missiles they got. So I don't understand that thinking there that Netanyahu and Galan is fucking thinking. I'm like, dudes, you should probably be concentrating on fucking Hezbollah. And I know you want to chop the head off the snake, but the deal is that Hezbollah is sitting over there fully fucking loaded, and you're going to go ahead and go directly to Iran, and Hezbollah is going to unleash. And so it makes no sense to me why they don't want to try to weaken Hezbollah as much as possible first before they deal with Iran. I guess they got some kind of master plan that I don't understand, at all. Because America's definitely going to have to jump in if that's the case. If Israel goes back and hits fucking Iran or America, we're both going to be fighting Hezbollah and fucking Iran at the same damn time. America will have to get involved 100%. And I think, if this gets as bad as it could get, we will be involved. We'll be helping Iran doing bombing fucking runs in fucking Lebanon and Tehran, wherever else we're going to go after. Who knows? And I'm trying to figure out, say Iran does what they say they're going to do, and they launch some missiles at Israel. These missiles don't even have to touch down in Israel. All they have to do is fly into Israeli territory and get blown up, and that's still just as fucking bad in Netanyahu's eyes. It doesn't matter if these missiles actually hit a target. What matters is if they come into Israeli airspace from Iran. It's the same fucking thing with Netanyahu. Whether they explode or whether they get blown up in the air is still the same exact thing. So, I just don't get their thinking, man. Hezbollah is going to open up, man, as soon as Israel goes for Iran. And then we're going to be in shit city over there, man. And you're going to see a lot of F-35s up in the fucking air, both from America and Israel. All right, who's next here? Go ahead, Chris. I think you were next.
Hey, what's up, Endgame?
What's happening, brother?
Not much. Good conversation so far. My question is more on basically to your point that Israel did this for no reason. I kind of want to argue that point and say when Biden gave or released 6 billion to Iran and then October 7th happened and it was a blind shot across the face to Israel, why is it wrong for Israel to just wait and sit like a little sitting lion ready for the right moment to pounce? And that's basically what they did to slap them back. So really, I think Iran made the first move indirectly with their proxies. What's your take with that?
Well, when it comes to that money, and I wouldn't for Biden giving them money either. It just, that money had to go because Iraq has to pay its electric bills. And the only way they can do it is because there's sanctions on Iran. So Iraq has to give to a bank, and this bank has to deposit it. And supposedly there's monitors watching this money. That Iran just can't call up one day and say, "Hey, I want to take out fucking $1 billion to go buy some fucking nukes." That they have to sign off on this, that there's steps that Iran has, each dollar they use of that money is accounted for by a humanitarian agency. Now, this is what they're telling us. Whether it's true or not, who knows, but this is what they're saying. They're saying it's a big misconception that people think that this money went straight to Iran when it didn't. And the funny thing is that when Trump was president, he's the one that started waving sanctions on this. People want to blame Sleepy Joe, which I'll blame Joe for a lot of things too, but Trump's the one that first waved this because Iraq went to Trump and said, "Listen, dude, if we're not able to send this money to Iran, Iran's going to cut our fucking electricity off over here because Iraq depends on a lot of energy from Iran to keep their lights on." So Trump was being a nice guy. Said, "All right, I'm going to waive these sanctions so you can pay this bank, and this bank can put it in Iran's account." So it's a real sticky situation when it comes to that $6 billion. I didn't understand it at first either until I really started reading into it. And I understand why they waived the sanctions on that, because it would affect Iraq directly if Iran wasn't able to get this money. Because this ain't like our money, it's their money. It's just money from Iraq that they're paying Iran for their electricity.
With that being said, though, Endgame, you don't think Iran indirectly funds Hamas to have done that regardless, though?
Well, yeah, they fund Hamas. I don't think they funded it through that $6 billion.
Well, let's say we don't put the blame on Biden or Trump and the $6 billion. Let's just say Iran funds Hamas, and Hamas did that first strike.
Oh, of course they do.
So my point is, even if Israel took out these few guys, and Iran's pissed about it, it's basically a retaliatory strike. It's not a direct first strike to me.
Well, I mean, you can go back in the history of the world between Israel and Iran and Hamas and everything else and try to figure out who cast the first stone. You'll never figure it
No,
out.
but let's be real. Like the last 10 years, and then this special basically operation with the Hamas and Gaza, it was initiated by Iran and its proxies.
Well, of course, like I said, I'm against the Iranian regime. I wish they would be taken out. A bunch of fucking women fucking killers. You know, I'd go dance on the fucking Ayatollah's grave.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm not trying to say like you don't agree with me. What my point is like, let's look at it from both sides. So like everybody's trying to just talk shit about Israel because Israel's been doing some crazy shit in Gaza. Like I'm not against that either, but they're pissed off, man. That was their 9/11, right? So they're gonna do some shit, and then if Iran's talking shit, which I think Iran's really not gonna do shit, because why are they broadcasting it like Cannabis said? Like, why don't you just do it instead of talking about it? You know? So that was just my 2 cents.
Well, the point is now that they've been talking about it, they have to do it because if they don't do it, they're going to look like assholes on the world stage and no one's going to ever take them seriously. So they dug themselves a fucking deeper hole by talking about it because now they have to go through with it.
So
You
what
know?
does Iran's enemies do about that too? Because Iran has other enemies, right? Like Pakistan. I see our friend here from Balujistan. Like, there's some other enemies around Iran too. Are they going to seize that opportunity?
Hopefully, it'd be nice. Yeah, like I said, this is going to kick off a regional war, and a regional war is going to be the whole fucking region. You know,
And then
all the
and then that point end game about Hezbollah, then like about like Israel taking on too much that they can chew. I think Israel knows America's behind them no matter what, but Iran might be taking on too much it can chew too if they got a lot of enemies in their area as well.
well, it's going to be a shit show all the way around. And Israel's going to take some big hits. They're going to take some damage. Haifa's going to get fucking destroyed. That's why they're building this new port in Cyprus right now because they know the one in Haifa is going to be out of commission. Um, I think this was the plan all along. I mean, Israel and America, let's be honest, has had a plan to attack Iran for decades. We've had those plans. We just dust them off every so often and update them. So we've already had the game plan drawn out for ages, because Iran has always been the target. I remember when General Wesley Clark came out years ago, and he showed those pieces of paper with the 7 nations that we wanted to attack in 5 years, which we didn't meet the 5 year deadline, of course, but still, Iran was number one on the list, number one, and it's always has been. And again, I have nothing against the Iranian people. I think they're cool people. The Iranian civilians, I think they're decent. The women are good looking. A lot of them are, and they seem like they like Western values.
Yeah.
It's that fucking regime that needs to go.
100%. Yeah. My mom's from there, so I agree with you 100%. But one more thing, and then I'll let other people speak. But on the portion of Hezbollah and what's Netanyahu thinking, I think Netanyahu is kind of a badass because I saw him on like one of these interviews where they were asking about Rafah, and he was like, listen, America's against you going into Rafah. And he's like, well, Israel will decide what Israel wants to do, because he's like, I had America and a lot of people saying we were crazy to even put in ground troops in Gaza to begin with. And that would cause the whole Arab world to come against us and everybody would jump on us. And he's like, I didn't see that happen with Hezbollah and stuff. So looks like America's intelligence isn't always the smartest, or like basically always knows the way it's for sure going to go. So he's probably assessed that like the damage he's doing in Gaza, and Hezbollah has been just sitting there. Like he's kind of calling him a paper tiger in my mind. But I just wanted to see what you think about that, and I'll let other people talk.
I think that would be a foolish mistake to call the other countries a paper tiger. I think that'd be very foolish.
Well, I mean, everybody said don't do this. He did it, and then shit doesn't happen, and then he goes further and further and further, and they're just sitting on their hands. So it's like he keeps calling their bluff. Like taking these Iranian guys out too is just another notch.
My personal opinion, honestly, everybody, is I just think that everybody, people who have power, or real power, who's not a paper tiger, kind of just waiting for the big bang to kick off. And unfortunately, Israel just keeps pushing the issue on a couple things. I don't want it to kick off, but it looks like it's coming. But yeah, just man, I think it's gonna be ugly. I don't think Iran's a
Oh,
paper
I
tiger. I think they got
100%
a
think
lot
it.
of.
100% is going to be ugly, but my point is, I don't think Israel's scared of it getting ugly and thinks they can handle it if it gets ugly.
And I think that's the problem because it's like, at the end of the day, everybody can only make so many weapons, when you're going up against so many people. And I don't know, just it's going to have to get pretty brutal for Israel to hold off that many fronts. And just, yeah, I don't know. They just got a lot of capabilities. I just went and called them Paper Tiger. Israel does have their capabilities as well. Just, man, they can do a lot of damage. That's the only thing I'm worried about. Just how much is Israel willing to risk, to be honest?
Yeah, that's fair. I'll let other people talk. Thanks, Endgame.
Hey, thank you, Chris. On top of that, like I said, Hezbollah's got it upwards toward 200,000 rockets and missiles, ballistic, advanced. They've got Shaheeds that Ukraine's getting hit with. They've got tanks sitting over in Syria from the Syrian war that they've got over there. They're hardened fighters now because they have been fighting in this Syrian war, the whole war over there. Hezbollah is a formidable force. I don't like them. I think they're a fucking terrorist group, and they fucking killed our guys back in the 80s over in Beirut. But let's be honest here. Israel and Hezbollah fought in 2006 to a standstill. I mean, they both got to the point where we're just not getting anywhere but just rocking each other and not making any fucking gains.
But can we always compare it to past times? Like, for example, Israel's been bitch slapping Syria like all this time, and they haven't done shit. Hezbollah.
Well, the deal is this. Hezbollah is in the government now. I mean, they run a big part of the Lebanese government, if there is a government. They have a caretaker government over there, but a lot of your Lebanese officials or your Hezbollah officials are part of the government. So they have a lot of say in it. And they've got, they're responsible for all these civilians over in Lebanon. And when you've got the defense minister Gallant coming out, before this October 7th attack happened, coming out and saying, if we ever go to war with you again, Hezbollah, we're going to knock you back to the fucking, we're going to knock Lebanon, not just Hezbollah, but Lebanon back to the fucking Stone Age. When you got the economic minister of Israel coming out and saying the damage we're going to do to you this time around Lebanon, you won't be able to recover from. Hezbollah has to stop and fucking think. They're like, hey, we've got all these people that we're responsible for because we're part of the government. And two, do we want? We see the destruction that Israel did in 2006. Do we want? It took Lebanon years to rebuild after that, and they still didn't get fully rebuilt. Lebanon's economy is non-existent right now. Fucking dirt's worth more than Lebanese currency. Hezbollah has a lot to think about. So they've been willing to stick with this tit for tat stuff over in the northern border. They've been willing just to go along with that, and so is Israel. Because Israel, I don't believe they actually want a war with Hezbollah. They know that they're going to take some heavy fucking damage. Because, like I said, Hezbollah has got enough rockets and missiles, and this is from bigger analysts. Even from our own ex Secretary of Defense Robert Gates, that said that Hezbollah has enough rockets and missiles they can rain down on Israel for 3 months straight, 24 hours a day, 3 months straight. They said even with the best missile defense systems, even with BMD's ships set up in the Red Sea and in the Mediterranean to try to protect Israel, even with the David Sling, even with the Iron Dome, even with the other air defenses Israel has, and these are again bigger analysts that said they still expect at least 12,000 or more rockets and missiles to get through. That's enough to do a lot of damage to Haifa. That's enough to do a lot of damage to Tel Aviv. Hezbollah has rockets and missiles now that can hit all the way down to Eilat, the most southern point where they didn't have them in 2006. So Hezbollah can do a lot of fucking damage now with what they've got. Now, are they as modernized as Israel? No, they don't have the big tanks. They don't have the F-35s. They won't be able to control the skies over Beirut. They'll have air defense, of course, but they won't be able to control the skies like Israel will. Israel will take control of the skies in 2 seconds. But at the same time, they've got a shitload of anti-tank guided missiles that they're very good with. Most of your Israeli soldiers that have been wounded and killed over in northern Israel has been because of these anti-tank guided missiles. And so it's going to be another bloodbath for both fucking sides. And I don't think Israel really wants that. And so they've been doing this tit for tat. But, after Israel did what they did over in Damascus the other day, that opened everything up. Even though Israel, again, may have had the right to do that, depending how a person looks at it, it still opened up a can of worms that could have been avoided. But eventually, there was going to be a war with Iran because they're coming closer to a nuclear weapon. I mean, they've already had, stockpiles and stockpiles and stockpiles of 60% enriched uranium. All they need is 90 for a bomb. And you got some people saying, well, they already have nukes. No, they don't. I don't fucking buy that. I'll never fucking buy that. The IAEA would have been all over that if they did. The CIA would have been all over that if they had nukes already. The Mossad would be all over that if they had nukes already. I don't believe that they have nukes. I don't believe Russia's giving them any. I don't believe they have. Now they're on the verge of being able to make some, and so we're going to have to put a stop to that. And we eventually this was going to be the outcome anyway. So I've always thought that a war with Iran and Israel and America has been inevitable for a long time, and every day that goes by, it's even closer.
Hey,
But I
Endgame,
think,
doesn't Iran call one big Satan and one little Satan? And it's like, how do you tell big Satan, hey, we're not gonna mess with you, just let us go after little Satan? Like, how do they do that?
well, in their mind, they think they can do that. And you can't. You know what? Us and Israel are tied to the hip. You go with one, you're messing with the other. It's like in barroom fights, when someone's buddy's smaller than he is and someone's trying to start a fight with him and the bigger buddy tells the guy one, you mess with my buddy, you're messing with me too. That's how us and Israel are. We're telling Iran, you mess with Israel, you're messing with America too. And that's just the way it is. And I'll just say this. If the Ayatollah is fucking stupid enough to fucking launch missiles at fucking Israel directly, then he's stupid enough to get his fucking ass handed by him and get buried right next to the 7 guys they just fucking buried today. Because that's what's going to happen to them. Now, Iran can do some fighting back too. They've got a lot of long range missiles and stuff too, believe me. They can launch on Israel too, just as easy. And at the same time, Hezbollah's launching, you got to factor in all the Iranian long range missiles that'll be launched. So that's even more. And then, of course, you'll have groups over in Syria launching missiles at Israel, too. Hell, you might even have some groups over in the Sinai take some shots at Israel. So it's a shit show all the way around. I still hope and pray all this can be avoided. I really do. But at the same time, this geopolitical stuff, I've made my business since 2000. And what I see now is irreversible. Again, I think what's happening in Europe is irreversible. And I think what's happening right now in the Middle East is irreversible. I think it's gone too far on both sides for anything to change. There ain't gonna be any peace come out of any of this, unfortunately. And again, the best thing we can hope for is not nuclear war. That's it. That's the best outcome out of this whole World War III scenario, is that someone fucking wises up at the very end, like the Cuban Missile Crisis, and say, we don't want to fucking go there. But so far, no one's, we're not close to that yet. I firmly believe we're not close to nuclear war yet. But as this thing escalates, it's bringing us closer. And, who knows? Who's next here? Go ahead, PK.
How are you doing, Endgame, man?
Hey, what's happening, brother?
Yeah, well, just starting on about these air defenses, going into Syria. I think it's like the MIM, 23 Hag, whatever you call it. Pretty advanced, isn't it? What do you think about that?
Which one's that?
I don't know, the MIM 23 hack or something, whatever it's called. I've never heard of that air defense system.
Well, I haven't either.
Yeah, like it's advanced anyway, and stuff like that. With the militias, like in Syria moving, closer, to west of Damascus, or south of Damascus. It's quite interesting, to see the movements there as well, because Israel's in the Golden Heights area, and you know, that's where, you know, attacks could occur as well, you know.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man, absolutely.
And you know, as well, you know, with Iran, you know, responding, it's just, you know, as well, like how, like, do you say it, like, you know, like Iran, you know, like they've been backed in a corner here, you know, like with, you know, Israel's been carrying out, you know, drone strikes in, you know, Lebanon, taking out, you know, like Hamas, Islamic Jihad, you know, members and, you know, Hamas members in Lebanon were, you know, since January were, you know, assassinations from drone missile attacks and, you know, IRGC, you know, not officials, but, you know, members in there, you know, group and stuff. But this deputy, like it was his deputy and the general, he was like in charge of being behind this massacre on October 7th. Like the guy that got killed, like the higher up general, that's basically like a Soleimani killing to Iran as well, because he was in charge of like with the connections with what do you call him? Nasrallah and you know, Hamas, because seemingly in the 2006 war he fought in the 2006 war, or he was involved in that as well. There was videos that came out about that as well, and you know, this is a big deal. If Iran don't respond here, they'll look weak. We just have to see what happens, because Israel's evacuated most of their embassies abroad. You know, there's a few embassies. Like Iran could attack anywhere. You know, could they attack a diplomatic, you know, embassy like in Azerbaijan or, you know, Beirut or anything like that, you know, because we don't know. But there was talk, you know, of intelligence officials like from Iran and, sorry, not Iran, Israel and, you know, the US saying they're going to launch cruise missiles and drones, the Shahid drones, you know, directly at Israel or, you know, at US troops, you know, because if the US is taking in air defenses in Syria, and you know, the US know that as well. And you know what the Pentagon said, you know, which kind of fucking, you know, put me off a bit, saying they don't believe Iran will attack us. I think they're just saying that, you know, because they're not taking in air defenses into Syria for no reason, you know. And you know, where they're stationed there, they're stationed near the Jordan border, right? And obviously Russia's in the northeastern Syria as well, because after Turkey's invasion, you know, in 2018, you know, and that's obviously split, you know, the northeastern Syria up. There's a safe zone there, but you know, you got Russia, you know, and what do you call them? Syria regime forces there as well. But the most important area, in my opinion, where to watch is the Euphrates River, because non-stop today, you know, exercises, you know, with the US and the STF have been going on, you know, I don't know how many hours, but they've been gone. Well, obviously they're done now, but hours they were, you know, exercises, you know. And well, I've been seeing as well, you know, how many fucking, you know, convoys and that have been coming in as well. I think like 30 of them coming in since, you know, January, which is crazy. You know, I think they're getting the STF ready as well, because you know as well that another thing what people don't talk about is Al Bukamal. That's an important area for Hezbollah and you know, the PMF under the Iranian Pharishians. You know, that's where they get their aid into Iraq, and through the IRGC they go through there, the Syrian Iraq border, and they go all the way up to, you know, to, you know, the Lebanese and Syrian border. I think they'll need to cut that off as well, man.
Yeah, they're gonna have to, man. Al Bukamal is a big target to take care of.
Yeah, Euphrates River as well, man, because they were talking about as well. There's a, you know, a clan, because last year there was a, you know, fighting, you know, it broke out with the STS fraction, you know, in the Arab, you know, areas, you know, in Del Azor. And, you know, what it was, the STF made a mistake by, you know, putting this guy in the council. You know, he's a very higher up, you know, general. And what he was doing, right, is, you know, he had previous connections to the regime, and the US was a part of it as well, with the STF putting him in charge of the council in the region. And what it was as well, he was smuggling, you know, smuggling stuff through the, you know, the region and stuff. And this is what caused upward spiral there, and that's what caused the fightings. And now what the IRGC do now with Syria to take advantage of it now, Endgame, is, you know, to put pressure on US troops and the STF, not properly on the US troops, but to target the STF troops, and then, you know, to go, you know, put pressure on them. And what they do is sleeper calls now. So what they do is attack at night. They cross, you know, the river crossing, and they attack their outposts and stuff there at night. And, you know, That's what they do now, man, because IRGC and Hezbollah's there as well. Because there was a few weeks ago, I think you've seen it as well. There was airstrikes by Israel because Israel's seen that as well. They're seeing the threat to U.S. troops as well, and the U.S. try to say they're not a part of that. They are a part of that because they don't want to be coming under attack, by the regime and what do you call them? Their back militias over there because as well. That's why they've been arming the SDF non-stop there, man. Non-stop. We don't know what they have, but they've definitely been armed with, heavy equipment because the non-stop equipment coming through, that border is fucking crazy, man.
Yeah, I mean, Israel's been keeping a real good eye on that for us. I will say that.
Yeah, the Mossad are the best. They're the best at that stuff, man. Even with the CIA is a part of it as well. And how do I say it here? Like with Iran's response, well, not Iran's response. I want to talk about the Baluch, factions. There's some good fighters, man. I'll tell you that because people's not talking about it. They launched an attack through their border and they killed about 15 security, members of the Iranian IRGC, well, their army, whatever you call them. Stuff like that. What did they do? They catched a weapons depot and they blew up a warehouse there and stuff. And there was non-stop fighting for 24 hours straight, and Iran couldn't even control that. I think another way the US and Israel could, if this escalates, man, I think you need to arm the proxies down in Iran, man, because to overthrow them, man, if you can't put troops on the ground over there, which you can't, you can only carry out bombs, through their nuclear program if it escalates to the point which we all hope we can avoid, but it doesn't look like we're going to avoid it. This has just gone to the point now where we can't go back now, and I think we just have to arm the proxies. And another thing as well is, how do I say it? Like Iran there with their response, like the supreme leaders coming out talking a lot, man. But, I think they do mean business because, Israel wouldn't be putting, holds on their Air Force members to be leaving. To be seemingly being stopped from going away or to be released from their service to be kept back, and they've called up reserves for the air defense, divisions and stuff, and stuff like that.
Yeah, like I said, that's the stuff you got to watch for, man. Is the military movements, not exactly what's being said, but what's happening on the ground. And what
Yeah,
Israel's doing is they're preparing.
yeah. Israel's proper prepared, and this is another thing, about the IDF. They had the problem with that, aid, workers over there, which is sad. RIP to them, man. But let's give it to the IDF, man. They are probably one of the most lethal, groups in the world, when it comes to army warfare, technology, anything. And these F-35s, and the US is shipping, I think, F-15s over there as well, and they're speeding up the delivery of them and more explosives. So if they can get their hands on them F-15s, man, that would be a good fucking job as well. They can start bombing Hezbollah targets more quicker because, the F-15s, when they go fucking at speed, man, nobody's catching up with them, especially Hezbollah. All they have is, an air defenses they got provided from Wagner Group, man. But fuck me, man, that's nothing against the F-35s and the F-15s, man, because Israel needs to be careful here as well because Hezbollah has no one to play with. If people, talking about Hamas is on the level as Hezbollah, you're out your mind, man. Hezbollah is basically Iran, basically with ballistic missiles and stuff as well. Because imagine Iran and Hezbollah launching ballistic missiles at Israel in the same day, man. It would be crazy.
Yeah, that's what I said. Israel would be facing missile attacks from the northern border and from Iran and from Syria.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah, this is why, the partnership, with, the proxy on the ground, the US has a good proxy in the SDF and, other groups they have in near Jordan as well. They can use them to work with the SDF, to push back in Al Bukamal and station, like ambush, the regime fighters like from behind. And then you got, what do you call them? The US troops won't do the fighting, the SDF will do the fighting, but Israel and, the US will provide artillery support and airstrike support, which we can cut off the border, which will be very beneficial for Israel and the US. So yeah, let's see, man. I think Iran needs to be dealt with, but we have to be careful with what we're doing with the Strait of Hormuz, because most of the cargo ships coming through there produce a lot of our oil, man. We have to be very fucking careful with that, because I think what they can do in response to Israel is, if what they can do in response, I think if any strike in their soil, they'll still class it, as Iran. So I think I think the response by America and Israel, if Iran goes for, sink the fucking Bashad and go for the Houthis, fucking pound the Houthis. That's what I think is the Houthis need to be dealt with, because this is going to get to the point where, you have to deal with the Houthis. There, you bring in a few, hit them with a few, B-52 bomber strikes. The obviously the UK has a typhoons, but it's barely nothing. But you need the UK involved as well, because they have a base in air base in Cyprus as well, which is very handy. They can use against Iran as well. The more strikes you can get in Iraq with more allies, is lethal, because if you're going to get rid of that nuclear program, man, which is underground near fucking mountains, you need to pound it very hard. I think it will have to be by over 700 bombs, man, because how many of them do they have over there? This is another worrying thing, because even in Biden's, phone call with Bibi, they were talking about, we don't know what they're talking about, but officials were talking, saying, they're thinking of plans and how to respond. That's the talks, because even though how do I say it, Biden's not close with Bibi, Israel is a friend of the US, because Apex in the government, most of the Israel's weapons is made by the US. They rely on US's weapons. There's talk about UK cutting off weapons. Applying weapons embargoes on Israel. They can't do that, man. You need to just get on with it. I think the Rafah operation, I think that's going to go out the water, man. Now I think it's more focused on Hezbollah now after these strikes, man. I don't think they're going to focus on Rafah that much. I think they could focus, but if anything kicks off, with Hezbollah, man, after Iran strikes, that's when it's going to fucking kick off. It's going to be Hezbollah and Hamas at the same time, and then you got the Golden Heights, Syria, and yeah. I think the US needs more than Israel and America. You need the UK involved. You need to try and get more Middle Eastern countries involved. Turkey will fucking act like fucking idiots, and they won't fucking get involved. They have a good air base there, which they won't allow the US or that to conduct airstrikes in Syria, because of the disputes of the SDF and them. But let's see if they can work together just against Iran for a wee bit, man. And then that obviously won't happen. But they should just fucking work together against Iran. Then we can just start fucking. They can start fighting each other after they deal with Iran, man. Because Iran's more important than fighting against each other right now.
Yeah, that's a fact, brother.
Yeah, thanks, Endgame. I'll let people talk now, man. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, PK. Pleasure hearing you, brother. Who's next? You go ahead, man.
Right, Endgame, how you
What's
going?
happening, dude?
I'm back in. The shit show's continuing.
What's that?
So I said the shit show is continuing. It's like a horror movie, mate, where I know the ending, but I continue to watch it. I'm just sitting here eating my Doritos, listening. So anyway, I'm going to zoom out a wee bit for your last speaker, and I was going to talk about, you mentioned a couple of things about the bigger, wider picture. I think Cannabis was quoting a bit of history. Also remember for Alexander the Great, Tamerlane crushed Iran in the 1200s, 1300s. But geography plays a part. And I don't know, I think it was Colin Powell who said, we do deserts, we don't do mountains. And one of the main drawbacks, like invading Iran, is marshland and mountainous areas. And I think the US, this is the interesting part, I think the US were kind of hoping that soft war would sort of really get the stranglehold of the mullahs. It would sort of impact that if through time. I think they were hoping that demography and just, the youth and also the 40% that are non-Persian would sort of unravel them, even though they've got the besiege and all the rest of it. So, like, I think maybe the dynamic of thinking changed when the Ukraine war happened, because now they're obviously supplying Russia and they're helping Russia. So I think there would be something to gain if you knock Iran out of the equation when it comes to that. I don't know how significant, but I think that's one aspect to look at. The other aspect to look at as well is sleeper cells. People are talking about Iran just hitting the US. You guys are letting a whole load of migrants into your country unvetted. If you go heavy on Iran, how would that play out? So, what's your thoughts on that endgame?
Well, we do have Hezbollah cells over here. I mean, the FBI has been chasing them around for a very long time. We have Hamas cells over here and jihad cells, and we have Iranian sleeper cells. And that's another thing that, I'm glad you brought that up, is if we do go into a direct, conflagration with Iran, they do have sleeper cells over here. And their main job is to conduct terrorist attacks in a time of war between America and Iran. And
Yeah,
they're here, and it's real.
yeah, I think as well, man. Sorry, I'm interrupting you. I'm over speaking there, but I think people, there was a stabbing, of an Iranian international journalist in the UK as well, man. They just stabbed him outside his home in Wimbledon as well. It just shows you they hire these people and they've run out the country. They just stabbed a journalist in the leg the other week, man. This is one of the ways how the IRGC utilize, do it. They have all people all over in South America and everything, man. I think in Paraguay and, even seemingly there's alleged deals with Venezuela over there, with some of their, just some of the deals over there with the IRGC and everything, and even in America. There's even talk of them being in, Mexico as well, but I doubt that, man. I looked into it and there's just no proof there. It's just, talk, I think.
I'm wondering though if they'll go in with heavier stuff. Like I get your concept of using the threat of fear and like stabbing people and that, put panic into the thing. But I'm wondering if they'll be more concentrated on infrastructure, vital infrastructure, or they'll go down the road of bioweapons, even
Yeah,
I
cyber,
think
yeah,
so.
whatever.
yeah. Maybe like the explosion, like they might try and go after embassies and stuff and that abroad as well.
When
So
I think about like World War III and stuff, I think of a very fluid war. A lot of sleeper cells in a lot of different places, doing a lot of different things just to help the other side.
well, see what you're saying there. Like there's going to be, like, because of this Palestinian crisis as well, the Israelis have overplayed their hand. So you look at it for the aspect of a Palestinian kid. You've seen your family blown apart. You're starving, whatever.
I mean,
You're going to be looking to join these fundamentalist madrasas. You want revenge.
I mean,
They're going to have a stream of these kids coming into their hands. So it could take 5 years to 10 years to turn it, but they've still got it. So they're going to have an inflow of people looking for vengeance over this.
yep, you're right. A bunch of partisans, pretty much, doing underground warfare operations against somebody that they see as an occupier. Yeah, I think what everything Israel's done to this point has probably motivated a whole generation.
I think as well another.
The other
Sorry,
thing,
I'm interrupting.
no, sorry, pal, on you
Yeah,
go.
sorry. No, you speak, man. I'm interrupting. You speak. It's your turn, brother.
Just going to say, like, I think the other factor to look at here is people are saying that Iran is kind of contained in what they can do, and there's probably some truth to that. But what I would look at, and this doesn't just apply to Iran, this applies to other countries as well. If you look at all the players in the world, all the leaders, the global leaders, or the middle management, whatever way you look at it, through whatever aspect, if you call them management or you think they're at the top, it doesn't matter. They're all of an older class. So you've got a class of 79 in Iran here. If you look at Russia, you've got the likes of not only Putin, but you've got Patrushev. You've got guys for the Cold War. You've also got the likes of Biden, who's survived so long. That's why Putin actually praised him, because he navigated for so long in the White House. These guys are running out of time, and demography and prevailing trends are, if they've got any grander designs, say there's an ideological war that hovers above what we're talking about. We're talking about kind of geopolitics, but say there's a wider global ideological goal. There's a kind of, I don't know, a unified goal, you know, a new world order, a one world government. They've all got their own ideas of how that should turn out. These guys are running out of time, it seems. And I think Henry Kissinger, it was interesting. Henry Kissinger said, he made a comment that they're going too fast and they're making mistakes. So very like Kissinger, and all, I don't know, it's up to you, but he made that comment when he was a grand, you know, he was like sort of one of the grand sort of visionaries, like a one world order, whatever. So what I'm thinking is I'll kind of be long-winded here, but what I'm thinking is if time's running out, that also plays a factor in how they play their hand. It may not just be. I think there's a lot of military guys out there who they kind of hang on stats too much. You know, we've got this X amount of supplies. We can do this. We can do that. They look at choke points, supply lines, logistics, and that's fine. But there's also the eschatology, the end times role, the religious role. There's also self-preservation, and among all of this, and there's grander schemes. So these ayatollahs in here, their time's running out, and maybe now the US thought that they could wait them out and the youth would overcome, but now that they're sort of ingrained in the Russian design, or this grand scheme that the Russians have got, they have to make a move, and maybe the US want a war with Iran
Uh,
because.
yeah,
Sorry, on you
yeah.
go, Paul. That's me.
It's like you know, like with Bibi as well, man. He wants to change the Middle East, man. He wants to. You know, Hamas was obviously, you know, like that attack on October 7th is not a, you know, a joke, man. People try and say, oh, they weren't killed and all this shit. 1,500 Israelis were killed and 250 hostages were taken back in, you know, Gaza, man. And what they do, man, is try and blame. Obviously, Israel has faults for what they've done. But let's not forget here, Bibi has right, man. I'm kind of in the side of him, man, because, you know, if you look at these negotiations for the past, how do you say it, 15 weeks now, I'm not including the last one, there was last ones as well. And, you know, if you look at the countries that host, you know, Hamas, right? Qatar, you know, that's one thing I'm really against. You know, like they all talk about, I seen a video today and, you know, the guy says we have close relationship with Hamas as a political wing, but not as an organization. But how the fuck are you defending this leader, right? It's ordered, you know, these massacres, right? And Turkey, you know, Turkey's funded ISIS, man. Let's be honest here. You know, the US even knows this as well. Back in the, you know, how do I say, when was it? 2015, I think. You know, they were funding Free Syrian Army fighters, and they've been a part of the Al Qaeda branch and the ISIS branch. And you know, US went to train them. Brent McGurk was, you know, in the Turkish border, and he says Turkey should be securing the border here. He says Turkey don't patrol the border. They were letting all ISIS fighters through the border and everything, and you know, supporting them, right? And then they were trying to fight ISIS, and
Yeah,
they
that's right.
couldn't even fucking fight ISIS, you know. And Obama was behind it at that time, and what he did, and what they realized was the Kurds were the fucking best force there to go and take you know, the fighting force. They fought with the US and they realized they made a mistake. I'm not blaming the US. I'm just blaming, you know, it's Turkey's fault, mostly Erdogan's fault. And Brent McGurk says the Kurds can patrol the border better than what Turkey's done. They're letting ISIS fighters through the border and stuff like that. But it's not about, you know, the Kurds. I'm just talking about, as like as Qatar and Turkey, Israel has right to put pressure on them, and Qatar
Well,
gets butthurt and
well,
they don't want to refund Gaza anymore. How the hell, you know, how the hell can you can get mad at Israel, right? When what happens if another October 7th happens? You know, like that's what it is, you know, and that's what it is, man. You know, I think you should do like I think a deal, like you should go back to one of the deals, you know, back then, and maybe have Egypt take care of this, because I don't.
well,
I think.
that's the problem with that's the problem with the Middle East. But mate, it's so complicated
Yeah,
that the media presents it as a black and white issue. It's delineated by tribal distinction first of all, but you've also got the Muslim Brotherhood, who there's a
yeah, that's what it
there's
is.
a bit of thing with flack. You get a bit of flack between Turkey and Egypt as well. But on that subject of Turkey, that's another kind of card to look at, because if Iran activates its proxies and there's a wider spread of war in that region, you're going to have an influx of migrants driving north. Now, I don't know if the Russians would want that, because
No.
that's going to destabilize Europe. So the Russians might, want that. So you've got all these kind of like everybody. It's kind of like everybody's got something to gain, something to lose, and nobody's really 100% with each other.
Yeah, that's exactly what it
Um,
is. That's exactly, because Turkey will just bomb the fuck out, you know, the Kurds, and fucking fighting, you know, Iran, because Turkey goes against the West, even though they side with Ukraine. That's really good. They side with
oh
Ukraine.
yeah, no,
Yeah,
Erdogan's notorious for it. Like Turkey's not been the same since like that whole essence of them being a republic since Ataturk in 35 is gone. Um, he's Erdogan plays all sides. He's just about retaining power for him. But Turkey's a big player because of where it's located. It's a hub. It's a nexus between East and West. So they're going to be like, I would watch their moves, but it'd be interesting to see if there's any internal pressure being put on Erdogan from outside
yeah, he just lost.
that's forcing him to
You
make certain
have a look.
decisions.
He just lost the elections, you know, and
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. That's my